nature nut. I'm not afraid to admit I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Today we'll go bird watching, tomorrow we'll catch toads, the next day we'll take photographs of bugs along the road. I never get the feeling that I'm in a rut. That's why I'm a nature nut. Well, I'm a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.
Oh, hello there, nature nuts. Say, did you know it's difficult to have a picnic in a tropical rainforest? Yep, and part of the reason is that the forest floor is a little bit soggier than I'm used to back home, but also because there are so many different kinds of ants. Let me tell you, right now, I'm in Costa Rica at the La Selva Biological Research Station, and there are 449 species of ants right here. Everybody's really looking forward to number 450. That'll be a big event. There are ants everywhere. You don't dare touch trees or leaves or things like that. You might get ants. You couldn't have a picnic on the forest floor. But on the other hand, if you're like me and you kind of like ants, this is the place to be. This is the place to get into the lives of tropical ants, and that's what we're gonna do right after lunch.
An estimated 10,000 trillion ants are alive on Earth at any one moment in time.
Painful.
It hurts.
Well, it hurts a lot.
It's like being shot.
It was real painful.
Very, very painful. It really hurts. Yeah, it was bad.
Okay, well, here we go. I'm risking life and limb here for you to show you Paraponera. There's a nest of Paraponera ants at the base of this tree here. Paraponera is a great, big ant. It's one of the biggest ants in the world. And let me tell you, whenever I've been to the tropics, people worry about snakes. Sure they do. They worry about killer bees. They worry about being attacked by jaguars. But the thing they really worry about is being stung by these ants, because it really hurts. You know what they call them? They call them bullet ants here, because it feels like being shot when you get stung. You know that some ants sting, right? Yeah. I mean, some ants, they'll just bite you and spray formic acid in the wound. That's kind of pleasant. But others have a sting, which makes perfect sense when you think that the ancestors of ants were wasps. And these ones, they're ponerine ants, which means they're fairly primitive in the sense that they resemble their ancestors, which means they can really sting. So when you come down to the tropics, don't get stung. Use precautions. It's kind of fun bugging them though. Aren't these wonderful leaves? This is a Cecropia plant, and Cecropia plants are famous because of the relationship they have with Azteca ants, named after the Aztec people, and these are Azteca ants right here. Now get this, this is so cool. The Cecropia plant, the stem here, is hollow, and it's hollow because the plant provides a home for the ants. The ants don't drill it out. The plant actually grows with this little hole right in the side there, so the ants have a door to go in and out of. And right here and here, you see those brown bits? There should be some little white globules of food called Mullerian bodies. I don't see any right now. Hey, who ate all the Mullerian bodies? Anyway, the plant produces Mullerian bodies for the ants to eat. The ants, for the most part, don't need to eat anything else, although some of them have little herds of mealybugs that they look after inside the hollow stems, and they get honeydew from the mealybugs. It's incredible. And in return, if you bug the plant, see, look, the ants get all upset and they're running around defending the plant. They'll defend the plant against anything, and that's the deal. The plant provides the home, the ants defend the plant. Very cool. It's like if you could buy a kind of tree and plant it in your garden, and it would grow into the shape of a tree house for your kids and grow donuts on the bark. And inside the rooms there would be little miniature dairy cows that you could milk and have fresh milk every day. Yeah, that's what life is like for these lucky little Azteca ants. You'd think with all the rain and all the ants that it would be difficult for animals to get a good sleep here in the tropical rainforest. But these tent-making bats, they've got it figured out. What they do, they find a big broad leaf and they cut into the leaf so it sort of collapses to form a tent, and then they tuck up underneath where it's nice and dry. They can, cuddle together for warmth. Must be kind of nice. It's a good-looking bat, too. You've got to admit, nice big brown eyes, the two stripes on the face. Beautiful thing. Anyway, they've got a tent. The ants can still get in, I guess, but who ever heard of a tent that didn't have a few ants in it?
Some bats will eat ants, especially flying ants, on their way to start new colonies.
All right, listen up. You see these boys here? These boys there? These, pardon me, girls, are army ants, and they are on a raid. From their nest, their bivouac, they are spreading into the forest environment, the rainforest system, in a dendritic, tree-like branching pattern of lines. Step either side of the line, you will not be harmed. Step in the line, you will have ants running up your body, biting and stinging. The ants themselves are on a search and destroy mission. They are looking for other insects. When they find them, they will rip their limbs off, pull their wings off, pull their antenna off, and take the parts back to the bivouac via the lines. It's raining. This is not good. It makes for a bad raid. There are very few insects. They are not taking very many back to the bivouac. They will not have much to eat tonight for dinner, making them even more difficult to deal with tomorrow. I remember well the steamy, festering jungles of Ecuador, sitting in a hotel, reading a book. Look beside me, chair covered with ants. Moments later, ants everywhere in the hotel. The cleaning staff advised me to leave, which I did. Came back the next day, no ants, no cockroaches, a natural pesticide. Army ants. Any questions? Okay, the thing that's cool about watching army ants is that you don't just get to watch the army ants. I mean, you do get to watch the army ants, but that's not all. The army ants running along in their little lines through the rainforest. You also get to watch all the bugs that have been scared out of their hiding places by the raiding ants. Bugs that you would otherwise have to rip up logs to find. So it's a good time for bug watching in general. And then there are the birds that come to feed upon the insects that have been stirred up by the ants. the ant wrens, the ant tanagers, the ant pittas, the ant thrushes, the ant shrikes, the wood creepers, and others. And then there are the colorful butterflies that come to sip upon the poops left by the birds that are looking for the bugs that have been stirred up by the ants. The butterflies need nitrogen, and when you need nitrogen, hey, you just plain need nitrogen. And finally, there's you and me who come to see the butterflies who sip on the poops left by the birds who come to look for the bugs stirred up by the ants. It's a beautiful thing. The army ants, they're not only at the center of the rainforest ecosystem, they're also at the center of the ecotourism business that drives the economy of this part of the world. Okay, well now I've got a story for you. I figured, wouldn't it be neat if I could follow that army ant raid backward, follow the column of ants, and find the bivouac, the living ball of ants that forms the nest where the queen stays while the rest of the workers are out on the raid. So I was working my way through the undergrowth here, following the ants, and then I noticed that they were going past this weird-looking patch of leaves, and I thought to myself, why are those leaves, how did they fall in such a regular pattern? That just doesn't seem, there's got to be something happening here, and that's that patch right down there. And then you know what happened? Then my heart stopped beating, and my body went all tingly because I realized that I was just a few feet away from one of the most dangerous snakes in the world. That is a terciopelo. That's what they call it in Spanish. In French, it's fer de lance. In Latin, it's Bothrops asper. And in everyday English, it's a stinking dangerous snake. But it is beautiful. You gotta admit, that's really beautiful, and I am thrilled to be looking at it right now. The snake is a sit and wait predator. It sits on the forest floor and it will wait for mammals to come by, bite them. It has fangs like a rattlesnake. It's a member of the viper family, and the venom has the effect of dissolving your tissues. It's an extremely potent venom. It's very, very bad. So if it doesn't kill you, it can cripple you. Really, really seriously dangerous snake, and that's a nice big one. Anyway, we took a vote on the crew, and apparently we're not going off the trail to look for the bivouac. I hope you're satisfied with the fer de lance.
Army ants eat mostly insects and would not try to harm a big snake, unlike the more dangerous driver ants of Africa.
So, you know, there are people who come down here to Costa Rica simply to look for the ants, but I've got to admit most of them are professional ant researchers. And they're doing everything from simply deciding how many species of ants are here and which names should be applied to them. All, you know, that sort of thing has to be done before you can then make comparisons, the ecology of each ant species, the different ways that they arrange their societies, and so on and so forth. Very complex subject and very, very interesting, and, you know, pretty hot stuff scientifically these days. But if you come down here to experience the rainforest for yourself, you're gonna see some ants, but you're also gonna see a lot of other cool stuff. Spider monkeys, I hope. I mean, that's the only monkey that I've seen. I've heard howler monkeys. There are also white-faced capuchins in Costa Rica and squirrel monkeys. And it's just fantastic to see monkeys in the wild. The reptiles and amphibians are fantastic here. Been really getting a kick out of the caimans. Caimans are very closely related to alligators. A little bit, you know, more dangerous. Not this little guy, but they're neat animals too. And what else? I mean, just rainforest classics all over the place. Toucans, you gotta love toucans. Big, long bill, they eat fruit. They sometimes eat things other than fruit, like other birds, but beautiful things. The chestnut mandible toucan. How can you go wrong? Things of the rainforests. other than ants. Nipping in the rain. Hey, check out this place around here. Isn't this interesting? It's all been cleared, more or less, of vegetation at ground level. And that's because we've got a huge, huge nest of leaf-cutter ants right here. And leaf-cutter ants are another classic kind of ant in the neotropical rainforests. Let me tell you a little bit about leafcutter ants. What they do, they have, you know, the usual arrangement with a queen deep within the nest, and the nest, which probably has maybe 10 million ants in it, is going to be huge here. It's probably the size of a big dining room underground. It consists of many little chambers, though it's not just one big open space, connected by, you know, tunnels and passageways. And deep within there, they are growing their food, which is fungus. And in order to grow the fungus, they have to feed the fungus, and they feed the fungus with leaves. That's why they're leafcutter ants. Atta is the name for leafcutter ants. And you can see how they have the front door to the colony, or many front doors to the colony. The entrances, the entrance holes, are where they're taking the leaf fragments in. They have trails that lead from those holes out into the forest to particular trees that work well for growing fungus. And these trails, they keep clean. You'd think that you were following some kind of a game trail, but really you're following an ant trail. Of course, to us, the trails are easy to see. To the ants, they find the trail by smell. Almost all of the information that they get about the world around them comes through chemical cues, not visual cues like you and I would use. Anyway, what else can I tell you about them? They also have back doors to this place where they take the garbage out, including ants that are not really worth much anymore. And that's, you know, it just shows you how ruthless these ant societies are. One day you're working hard, the next day you're on the garbage pile with all the burned out fungus. But that's life in the rainforest. With those little snippers. Leafcutter ants. Okay, hold on. There we go. Whew. Don't I have the best job? Leafcutter ants.
One species of leafcutter ant is found all the way up to southern Arizona.
So did you know that I'm related to a famous poet? I'm not making this up. Milton Acorn from Prince Edward Island was one of the great figures in Canadian poetry, and as far as I know, none of the other Acorns are following along in his footsteps in the poetic tradition, so it's up to me. One of his great poems was called The Natural History of Elephants, so I've composed one, The Natural History of Ants.
Essaton, Essaton, armies of the ant. Off they go devouring, since no one says they can't. Atta, 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 leaf-cutter ants. Fungus farming, not so charming. Up and at 'em, atta ants. Trample, trample, here's a sample of an atta road. Carry leaves, green drywall sheets into the dark abode. Little ants, soldier ants, also very mad. Work, 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 you little jerk. No thoughts of good and bad. Myrmicines, ponderines, marching in their warlike lines, moving soil, sweat and toil. Ants are always on the boil. Kill, 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 perfect the will. Do it all for mother. From her eggs more sisters beg, just like 1,000 others. Essaton, Essaton, armies of the ants, ripping cockroaches limb from limb, since no one says they can't.
Okay, well, have a look on this fallen log here. You can see there are some very large, very skinny looking ants, and these are a very famous tropical ant. They're called trap-jawed ants, Odontomachus, and what they're doing is they're hunting. They're hunting for little bugs, and they run around, or they walk around, I should say, with the jaws held wide open. They have very, very long jaws for an ant, and they have two little hairs that stick out in front of the jaws, and when those hairs touch a little bug, the jaws schnick shut very, very quickly. In fact, apparently this was measured not long ago, and it's one of the quickest movements in the entire animal world. It's like a creature walking around, a little ant with tree snips on the front of its face, schnicking bugs in half. Sometimes they schnick them right in half. If you're a little bug and you meet one of these things, your chances of survival are really, really lousy. There's a lot of them on this log here, and I don't know where the nest is, but apparently you don't really want to find the nest. And the reason you don't want to find the nest is because the ants, if their nest is disturbed, they will turn toward the log that their nest is on, and they'll bite at the log, and the force of the bite is so strong that it propels them through the air, and they can jump half a meter, land on you, bite you, and sting you, and get you away from the nest. Anyway, there you go. Trap-jawed ants, a neotropical classic. The word neotropical refers to the tropical parts of South and Central America.
Ding 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 ding. Ooh, boy.
You know, if you hold your binoculars backward like this, all those people down there, they look just like ants. Oh, pardon me, they are ants. I like looking at the world in unusual ways. That's why I'm a nature nut, and I hope you are too. And I hope you enjoyed the world of tropical ants. See you again soon.
Make it ding 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 ding. Ooh, ding ding ding. Woohoo! Ants.
Same time each and every week, uncensored and uncut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.